I was going to do a thing here towards the end where I talked about the numbers of people in prison here. Can I have just a couple? You sure? Is it okay? Okay. I mean, I really don't like to monopolize. But anyway, thank you. I will take just a few more minutes. And I wanted to try also to make the connection made by the title between the struggle for Palestinian freedom and the campaign against the prison industrial complex here in the U.S. There's so many registers on which we could explore those connections, but I want to simply ask you to think about these connections by acknowledging the exchange of technologies of repression and containment, the over-reliance on imprisonment to the extent that here in the U.S., 1 in every 100 adults is behind walls, right? You know that, right? Some of you know it. And also, according to the Pew Center for the States, which produced that first statistic based on the studies that, based on their research, more recently we learned that 1 out of every 31 people in this country is under the direct control of this correctional system today. 1 out of every 31. And then when you consider the extent to which so many schools, especially in poor communities, especially in communities of color, use the same kinds of technologies of discipline as prisons do, that they're basically producing children, not children who have acquired an ability to enjoy the acquisition of knowledge and enjoy learning, but they're producing children who are tracked toward prison. As a matter of fact, the Marian Wright Edelman, and in her Cradle to Pipeline campaign, has pointed out that children are really tracked in that direction. Now, we can't compare the numbers of prisons in the U.S. and in Israel, but we certainly can compare the over-incarceration of Palestinians to the over-incarceration of black people. In Israel's prisons, more than half of all the prisons there are Palestinian prisons of war. Now, when you think about the fact that more than half, well over half of all prisoners in this country are either black or Latino or Native American, and almost all of them are poor, right? So we know that the U.S. has operated secret prisons. We know that Israel has operated secret prisons where the same kinds of practices of torture have occurred. But let me conclude. I did want to say a couple of words about Oscar Grant, but you can ask about that during the question and answer period if we have one, because in the demonstrations against the shooting of Oscar Grant in Oakland, many of the activists also shouted out slogans of solidarity with our Palestinian sisters and brothers in Gaza, because the killing happened in January, and people sort of instinctively figured out the connections there. So let me say it is about time. The campaign, the boycott campaign, which has been going on for so many years, it's about time to accelerate it. And we should say to Obama, who has taken some bold steps, and I'm really glad that he nominated Sonia Sotomayor. That was important. So, let's celebrate that. But let's tell Obama that we need him to join us when we say tear down the wall, stop the massacre in Gaza, and end the occupation. Thank you very much.